Hello, I'm Jonathan Crook, Print Technical Consultant for HP. In this training video, I will quickly show you how to set up quotas with the embedded job accounting in the FeatureSmart 4 or 5 firmware platform on our enterprise class devices. Depending on your model and firmware level, some features or buttons may not be available. Today, I'm using an enterprise class 6 series device with flow features running FeatureSmart 5.9. So in my previous videos, we've set up basic authentication and just tracking of users and stuff like that. But your customer might want the option to limit how many prints or copies the end users have, right? And so we do that through quotas. So when we go back into general local quota configuration, after we've enabled it, there are a few different options here that I didn't discuss on my last video. So the first option really boils down to what happens when a user meets their quota, right? Is the machine meant to immediately stop the print job, or will you let it finish the print job? Now, this could be a good and bad scenario depending on what's going on, because maybe the end user knows that their quota is about to expire in 15 copies, and so they make a 500 copy job, right? If it's set to finish, then it's going to print all 500, and then they will no longer be allowed to run anymore. So stop is our default, which it will stop during that process, right? But that's what those two differences are there. One of the other options here next is always allow mono printing. So we get a lot of questions around, can we just not worry about black and white printing and just focus on putting quotas for color? Yes, you can. And it's very straightforward because you can say always allow mono printing. All right, so the next option is combine credits for copy and print. So by default, when you enable quotas, you will see here that we have multiple columns: black print, black copy, color copy, right? And so by this setting here, it combines the credits for copy and print into one. So then we only have black and we only have color. So the other thing is, let's say we use that always allow mono printing and we check that off. And now you'll see here that we have black copies, color prints and copies, right? So depending on how you check off these here is how these columns down here are affected, right? So for now, I'm going to go ahead and leave combined credits for copy and print. It's important to know that when you check off these settings here, make sure to hit apply down here in the lower right-hand corner. That's basically telling the system, yes, these are the settings I want. So next you'll see these are what are called the default settings. So as you add new users to the machine, these are the default quotas that they get when they're added to the machine under security. Now, 999,000 might be fine for most of you that aren't necessarily worried about tracking quotas, and it's more about authenticating and making sure people print with their PIN codes. But this is where you can come in here and say, okay, every new user gets 1,000 black and 50 color. And then once they hit apply, it will save that setting. So future users that are added to the machine are done. If you watched my previous video, I added users first, and that's because in a lot of cases, quotas aren't being used in this aspect. They're used more for just the authentication and just ensuring that the machine only prints out jobs that have a PIN code attached to them. So then we come down here and we can see the different columns, the users and stuff. So these first 5 are systems defaults, right? So those are you really not going to touch, but you can see Jeremy and Jonathan down here at the bottom. So let's say, for instance, Jeremy is, he prints a lot, but we really need to keep him in check. So we'll do 500 black and we'll do, let's say 30 color, right? And we hit OK. And we scroll down, and now you can see Jeremy only has 500 black prints and copies and 30 prints color prints and copies. So this is where you come in here. Now, as users use their quota, at the point they hit 0, right, it will no longer print for them. And the jobs, if they do not meet the quotas, the jobs are actually just dumped out of the machine. You don't even get an error at the machine. And so end users will realize, wait a minute, my job's not printing out. Maybe I don't have any quota. And you'll see when we show authentication in another video, it does pop up when people log in at the panel what their quota currently is at, right? So we'll leave Jeremy for now. That way, when we go to log in as Jeremy, we can see that. And as you scroll down here further for charges, this is where you can actually come in here if you wanted to and actually change how much does each color print cost, how much does each black print cost, black, print or copy, empty sides, scan sides, right? So you could say, okay, you know what? Every time color is done, it's two of these counts up here, right? So most cases, you're never going to change this because you're setting quota 1-to-1. This is just there in case you need to do something like that. Then as we come down here, the final section of quotas right here is scheduling the summary, right? So you can actually come in here and schedule an email and reset of quotas at the same time, which is really important because let's say you want to refresh the quotas every month. This is where you can do that, right? And so you can see here, we don't schedule anything. We can email and reset. We can just reset the quota credits if we want and how often. And then we could just email the quota information, right? In most cases, you'll probably do an email and reset. Just like with the embedded job accounting and the tracking, you'll see this is the same exact window here, right? So we have to set up an email server. We put in an email recipient and we click on add, right? And so then as we scroll down, it's going to say, how often do you want this to happen? So you're going to say, most likely with quotas, you're going to say every month on the first day of the month, right? Or maybe you do the last day of the month, right? Because we're resetting as well, right? So maybe it's the last day of the month and then you apply that. So these are all the different settings when it comes to quota configuration. Hopefully this has been informative for you. Have a great day.